All right, today what we're gonna work on is a landscape picture, but it's not just gonna be a plain landscape. We're gonna think about what would happen if a giant was terrorizing our landscape. So the first thing you're gonna do is you are going to draw a horizon line somewhere on your paper. It can be wavy, it can be straight. It's just gonna be where the sky meets the ground. So I'm gonna make mine kind of like two hills coming together with a curved line here and a curved line that way. When we're drawing this, we want to think about things going around in the background, things in the middle ground, which is kind of the middle, and things in the foreground. Okay, so keep that in mind. We want things far away, so they might look smaller, things in the middle, and then things that are up close, and maybe those are the biggest things that we have going on. So according to my son, we are going to have a giant fish attacking our town. So what I want to do first is I want to show that my fish is kind of the closest thing. It's going to be going towards that town. And I don't want my fish to be going this way. I'm going to imagine my fish is up walking on its flippers. So I'm just going to draw my big fish shape. And again, you could make this a giant whatever you want. It could be a giant marshmallow. It could be a giant baby. It could be a giant ketchup bottle, or, who knows, it could be whatever kind of giant you want. Something you think is funny, or maybe something you think is scary. My fish isn't looking too scary right now, so obviously I'm not going the scary route. You want to erase any parts of your horizon line that are going through your giant. Now, you don't have to have your giant right up here, up close. Maybe your giant is starting in the background and kind of coming forward, or maybe your giant is already attacking the town. But my giant, I think I'm going to have him like he's already walked through the town and destroyed parts of it, and now the townspeople are going to fight back. So let me add some more details to my fish. It's going to have one big giant eye. It's going to be kind of like a clueless, guppy looking fish. Maybe he's gonna have a mouth like this with some lips on there. Now your giant doesn't have to be the most perfectly drawn thing, because again, this is just kind of something silly and fun. What you want to think about too is how are the townspeople gonna react to this giant? You know, shooting this fish, maybe that won't do anything, but maybe they could fry him up in a frying pan. Maybe they're going to fight back by catching him with fish hooks. Maybe people down here are going to have fishing lines and kind of hooking that fish, or a giant net. So start to think about those kind of things. Now we're going to start to draw some buildings. I have my fishes in the foreground. I'm going to put my buildings in the middle ground. So if I start with my buildings and I'm going to make this look more like a city. And I'm just going to draw a rectangle where the bottom meets the horizon line right there. You could draw a whole rectangle like this too. Kind of depends on where you want your building on that city. Now, if you're comfortable with your buildings being just like this, that's totally fine. But if you wanted to make your buildings look 3D, all you really need to do is on the corners of your buildings, we're going to put a diagonal line. So I'm going to put a little diagonal line here. And then that same type of diagonal line is going to go out this way. And that same type of diagonal line is going to go out that way. So on its side, if this was on its side, it would look kind of like a table. And then I'm going to use a horizontal line that goes across here and a vertical line that goes there. And now my building looks 3D. So if I put a door and windows on it, I can kind of start to give it those different details. So once you have your basic of your giant and your city, you can start to help your giant, whatever it is, wreak some havoc on there. Maybe this fish kind of spit out some water, and now some of these buildings kind of have some fish spit on them, right? And they're kind of wet. You can make your buildings look like he crashed through them, and so maybe you erase part of your building and kind of give it that jagged line, like he took some of it out. Maybe he took some of the top off of this building, and it can kind of be like broken down. You can still make it look 3D and have it kind of broken in pieces like that too. You can start to add the people that are trying to stop your giant from being, you know, such a pain to your community. Maybe if they're really little, this would be like one of the few times where it's okay to draw stick people. Maybe we've got our little people down here, and they could be kind of stick people at first, and you can kind of give them more stuff to use. Maybe he's got a fishing pole, and he's fishing and he's hooked the fish right there. Maybe he's got a hat. We can make his body a little bit thicker, but because they're so small, to show how big that fish is, you know, you can keep it really little and kind of less detailed. And maybe there's another guy back here, and he's got another fishing pole, and he's got up here, and they're really just gonna keep hooking this fish everywhere they can. Maybe their plan is to feed their city by frying this fish in a giant pan, so that way once he is caught, he's gone forever, and that handle can go off of there. Maybe they built kind of a little fire to go underneath it, because, you know, it's too big to fit on any of their stoves, with some tree logs. Maybe they have a crane or something lifting this frying pan up, but I don't really, you know, maybe we can't see it because it's off that side. And I could add more sticks and logs to it too. You can tell if it's daytime or nighttime. I'll put a sun here, and I'll draw some cartoony clouds. You can keep yours cartoony, or you can make it you know, more realistic. That's up to you. Maybe in part of their defeating this giant fish, they're going to have some tartar sauce, you know, because lots of people like to eat fish with tartar sauce, and maybe that will help scare the fish into, you know, leaving. You never know, right? They could kind of have that ready to go to when they eat that fish. I could keep drawing more little guys coming to help with that. You can draw airplanes or helicopters. I'm not the best airplane drawer, but if I kind of make the body of the airplane and its tail is like this is like a passenger plane. Maybe the fish hit this passenger plane. Maybe if it had a pointier nose, it would look kind of like a jet. We'll kind of keep it like a jet like that. Make it a little bit skinnier at the end. Kind of looks like a fish itself, doesn't it? And maybe this jet is going to actually carry a net to help with the fish. But again, it's kind of, you know, it's not in the foreground, it's not super big, so even though this doesn't look big enough to hold the fish, they could be farther away, and they could be coming to help all the guys with that too. So when you're all done, you should have kind of a whole scene with things in the background going on, things in the middle ground, and things in the foreground. Don't forget to color, and don't forget to share it with Mrs. Opperman when you have it all done. Thanks for drawing with me.